Which of the following statements about railroad crossings is true? A. It is against the law to go around lowered gates at a crossing. B. You must stop at a railroad crossing when directed to do so by a flagger. C. Not all railroad crossings are equipped with flashing red signals and gates. D. All of the above. You are waiting in the intersection to complete a left turn. You should A. Signal and keep your wheels turned to the left. B. Signal and keep your wheels straight. C. Flash your headlights so drivers will let you through. D. Drive around the rear of a car if it blocks you. B. Signal and keep your wheels straight. You must always signal before turning or changing lanes. You should keep your wheels straight while waiting to make a left turn. If another vehicle hits you from behind, this ensures that you will not be pushed into oncoming traffic. This sign means A. Slippery when wet. B. Tow-away zone. C. Steep downgrade. D. Roadwork ahead. A. Slippery when wet. Warning signs prepare drivers for upcoming road conditions and hazards and are usually yellow with black markings. This sign tells drivers to be cautious when driving under conditions that may cause the roadway to become wet and slippery. At an intersection with a yield sign, you should A. Always stop before entering the intersection. B. Yield just to the traffic on the right. C. Yield just to the traffic on the left. D. Slow down and yield the right of way to other traffic. D. Slow down and yield the right of way to other traffic. A yield sign means that you must slow down and yield the right of way to traffic in the intersection or roadway you are entering.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
When driving on slippery roads, you should A. Use alternate routes. B. Drive as you would on dry roads. C. Increase your following distance. D. Avoid crossing bridges or intersections. C. Increase your following distance. On slippery roads, you should increase your following distance. It may take more time to stop your vehicle than it would under normal conditions. When parallel parking between two cars, you should first A. Turn your wheels to the left. B. Turn your wheels to the right. C. Pull up even with the car in front of your desired parking space. D. Back slowly. C. Pull up even with the car in front of your desired parking space. After finding a parking space, checking traffic, and signaling, you should stop parallel to the vehicle directly ahead of your desired parking space before turning your wheel to park. If two drivers arrive at the same time to an open intersection, A. The driver on the right has the right of way. B. The driver on the left has the right of way. C. One driver may continue driving without stopping. D. One driver should honk to indicate that they are giving up the right of way. A. The driver on the right has the right of way. If you arrive to an open intersection at the same time as a vehicle to your right, you should yield the right of way to that vehicle. You may then proceed when it is safe to do so. If an aggressive driver cuts you off, you should A. Call the police immediately. B. Stay calm and move out of the aggressive driver's way. C. Flash your vehicle's lights to let the aggressive driver know he is wrong. D. Use a driving action of your own to get back at the aggressive driver. B. Stay calm and move out of the aggressive driver's way. If an aggressive driver cuts you off on the roadway, stay calm and get out of their way. Trying to get even with an aggressive driver risks escalating the situation and increasing the danger. You are driving at night and another vehicle is approaching from the opposite direction. Your headlights? A. Should be on their high beam setting. B. Should be on their low beam setting. C. Should be off. Use your parking lights. D. May be on either their high or low beam setting. B. Should be on their low beam setting. Do not use your high beam headlights when approaching or following another vehicle at night. Switch to the low beam setting to ensure the safety of everyone on the road. In which of the following ways can alcoholic beverages affect you? A. It slows your reaction time. B. It gives you a feeling of false confidence. C. It impairs your thinking ability. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Alcohol dulls the parts of your brain that control inhibition, judgment, and self-control. As a result, you may feel stimulated, lively, and a bit giddy or foolish after consuming alcohol. Alcohol also impairs your reaction time, coordination, and balance. Your vision and ability to judge distance suffers after alcohol consumption, making it difficult to react to your surroundings. If a vehicle using high beams comes toward you, you should look toward. Fill in the blank. Of the road. A. Either side. B. The center. C. The right side. D. The left side. C. The right side. If a vehicle approaching you is using its high beams and fails to dim them, you should glance toward the right side of the road. This will keep you from being blinded by the other vehicle's headlights and will allow you to see well enough to stay on your course until the vehicle passes. Your ability to stop is affected by A. Signal lights. B. Other cars on the road. C. The time of day. D. The condition of the road. D. The condition of the road. Your ability to stop is greatly affected by the condition of the road. You need to reduce your speed when road conditions are poor in order to maintain control of your vehicle. You will be at risk if you are driving too quickly on roads that are slippery and you need to stop. You notice a vehicle defect which may affect the safe operation of your vehicle. You should A. Correct the defect as soon as possible. B. Correct the defect when you can afford it. C. Drive the vehicle at slower speeds. D. Drive normally. A. Correct the defect as soon as possible. Any defect that may affect the safe operation of a vehicle should be corrected as soon as possible. Defects should be corrected before the vehicle is driven. This green arrow on a lane use control signal means A. You may use this lane. B. No traffic is allowed in this lane. C. You have the right of way. D. You must merge into this lane. A. You may use this lane. A steady downward green arrow over a traffic lane means you may use the lane indicated. If there are two railroad tracks next to each other. A. It is always safe to proceed after one train passes. B. You must always stop before crossing the tracks. C. When one train passes, look for another train on the other track before proceeding. D. Honk your horn as you cross the tracks. C. When one train passes, look for another train on the other track before proceeding. If there are two railroad tracks next to each other, watch for a second approaching train after one train passes. Do not begin to cross the tracks until you're sure no train is approaching from either direction on either track. A driver entering public traffic from a driveway or private road. A. Has the right of way. B. Should yield to drivers already on the public road. C. May force their way into traffic. D. Can assume that other drivers will change lanes to make room. B. Should yield to drivers already on the public road. If you are entering traffic from a driveway or private road, you should yield to drivers already on the public road. Merge safely into traffic when you are able to do so. This sign means A. Roundabout ahead. B. Lane ends, merge left. C. Turn around. D. Curve ahead. A. Roundabout ahead. This sign indicates that a roundabout is ahead. Enter a roundabout at a low speed and yield to existing traffic. This sign means A. Yield. B. Crossroad ahead. C. Keep right. D. Yield ahead. A. Yield. Traffic signs with three sides of equal length warn drivers to slow down when approaching an intersection and to be prepared to come to a complete stop to yield to other drivers or pedestrians. Drivers may proceed when it is safe to do so. To prevent hydroplaning, you should A. Ensure that your tires have good tread depth. B. Ensure that your tires are properly inflated. C. Reduce your speed when driving in the rain. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. To prevent hydroplaning, you should ensure that the tires on your vehicle have good tread depth and are inflated to the proper pressure. Reduce the speed of your vehicle when driving in the rain. Hydroplaning occurs most frequently at higher speeds. You have the right of way when turning left on which of the following traffic signals? A. A solid green light. B. A flashing yellow light. C. A green arrow pointing left. D. A flashing red light. C. A green arrow pointing left. A green steady arrow means you may pass through the intersection in the direction that the arrow is pointing. Oncoming traffic is required to stop for turning traffic. This sign is a warning that you are approaching A. An intersection. B. A crosswalk. C. A railroad crossing. D. A blasting zone. C. A railroad crossing. This sign indicates that you are approaching a railroad crossing. This road sign means A. No right turn. B. Curve. C. Turn right or left. D. Traffic flows only in the direction of the arrow. D. Traffic flows only in the direction of the arrow. This one-way sign indicates that traffic flows only in the direction of the arrow. This sign means A. No right turn. B. Keep right. C. No U-turn. D. Left lane must turn left. A. No right turn. Regulation signs regulate traffic speed and movement, displaying rules which drivers must obey. This regulation sign means that right turns are prohibited. What does a single dashed yellow line separating traffic mean? A. Drivers may pass if it is safe to do so. B. Both lanes travel in the same direction. C. Drivers may not pass. D. Drivers may pass, even if it could be dangerous. A. Drivers may pass if it is safe to do so. Yellow lines separate traffic moving in opposite directions. A single dashed yellow line in the center of a road indicates that vehicles traveling in both directions are permitted to pass. Drivers may only begin a pass if they will not interfere with any oncoming traffic. When passing a large vehicle, the driver of a small vehicle must be prepared for A. Loud noises. B. Excess air pollution. C. Wind gusts produced by the large vehicle. D. Falling vehicle parts. C. Wind gusts produced by the large vehicle. Large vehicles can cause wind gusts with a force great enough to cause direction changes in smaller vehicles. Drivers of small vehicles should be prepared to take proper corrective steering action when approaching or passing large vehicles that are moving at or near maximum speeds. When you want to make a right turn, your car must be A. Near the center of the street. B. Close to the left side of the street. C. Close to the right side of the street. D. Past the center of the intersection when you begin to turn. C. Close to the right side of the street. As you prepare to make a right turn, you should get as far to the right side of the road as possible. Do not cut across lanes of traffic to perform any turn. If you leave your vehicle unattended, you must A. Turn off the engine. B. Lock the ignition and remove the key. C. Set the parking brake. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. When you leave your vehicle unattended, you must stop the engine, lock the ignition, remove the key from the ignition, and set the parking brake. This road sign means A. Bicycle crossing. B. Stop only if other cars are approaching. C. Bicycle store. D. Soft shoulders. A. Bicycle crossing. This sign, with the arrow below, indicates the location of a bicycle crossing path. Drive with caution around this sign because bicycles likely regularly cross or ride beside traffic in the area. A "no standing" sign at a certain location means A. You may never stop your vehicle there. B. You may park there if the driver remains in the vehicle. C. You may stop temporarily only to pick up or discharge passengers. D. You may stop to load or unload merchandise. C. You may stop temporarily only to pick up or discharge passengers. A "no standing" sign means that you may only make a temporary stop to load or discharge passengers. When dealing with pedestrians, a driver must A. Make sure the pedestrian is aware of their vehicle. B. Always yield the right of way, even if the pedestrian is in the wrong. C. Yield the right of way only when the pedestrian is legally entitled to it. D. Slow down and sound their horn near a crosswalk. B. Always yield the right of way, even if the pedestrian is in the wrong. You must do everything you can to prevent striking a pedestrian or another vehicle, regardless of the circumstances. It is the driver's basic responsibility to be alert to pedestrians and to yield the right of way to all pedestrians, even if the pedestrian is crossing the street where they should not be. What is the first thing you should adjust, if needed, when you get into a car to drive? A. Your seat belt. B. The steering wheel. C. Your rearview mirror. D. Your seat. D. Your seat. When preparing to drive, you should first adjust your seat to ensure that you are in a comfortable position and can see the road clearly. Adjust your mirrors and steering wheel to be effective when your seat is fully adjusted. While backing, you should A. Rely only on your mirrors. B. Flash your lights. C. Open your door to see if it is safe to proceed. D. Turn your head and look through the rear window. D. Turn your head and look through the rear window. When intending to back up, always check behind your vehicle before getting in. Children and small objects are difficult to see from the driver's seat. While backing, turn your head so you can see through the rear window. Do not depend only on your mirrors or sensors. If you see this sign, you A. Must not pass another vehicle. B. May pass a slow-moving vehicle if you can do so quickly. C. May pass if you know the road ahead. D. May pass, but only at night. A. Must not pass another vehicle. Regulatory signs are white, rectangular signs with black markings. Drivers must obey the instructions posted on all regulatory signs. Where this sign is posted, it is prohibited for drivers to pass one another. What should you be most concerned about when you see this sign? A. Driving with your headlights out of alignment because one side of your car is higher than the other. B. Damaging a tire from drifting onto the shoulder. C. Hydroplaning, if the shoulder has water on it. D. Losing control of the vehicle if you drift onto the shoulder. D. Losing control of the vehicle if you drift onto the shoulder. This sign indicates that the shoulder is lower than the road in the area ahead. If you drift off of the roadway and one wheel drops onto a low shoulder, do not slam on the brakes or steer sharply to try to get back onto the roadway. This could easily cause you to lose control of your vehicle. A driver approaching a flashing red traffic signal must A. Slow down at the light. B. Drive carefully without stopping. C. Merge to the right. D. Stop before entering the intersection. D. Stop before entering the intersection. A flashing red light means that you must stop, yield to traffic and pedestrians, and go only when it is safe. At a railroad crossing, a flashing red light indicates that a train is approaching. Yield to the train, and go only when the lights have stopped flashing and all other active warning devices deactivate. This sign means A. Slippery when wet. B. Watch for drunk drivers. C. Dangerous curve ahead. D. Bump in the road ahead. A. Slippery when wet. Warning signs are usually diamond-shaped with black markings on a yellow background. They alert drivers to upcoming hazards. This sign warns drivers to be extra careful when the pavement is wet because the road may become slippery, making vehicles more difficult to control. You are coming to an intersection and have a green light. Pedestrians are crossing against the red. You should A. Honk your horn. B. Speed up and pass in front of the pedestrians. C. Stop to let the pedestrians cross safely. D. Drive close to the pedestrians and frighten them so they'll think twice before crossing against a red light. C. Stop to let the pedestrians cross safely. Yield to pedestrians and cars that may be caught in an intersection when you have a green light. Be careful around pedestrians under every circumstance. A flashing red traffic signal at an intersection has the same requirements as A. A slow sign. B. A yield sign. C. A stop sign. D. An intersection sign. C. A stop sign. When approaching a flashing red signal, you must stop and yield to all traffic that does not have to stop. This sign means A. No left turn. B. No stopping. C. No U-turn. D. Detour ahead. C. No U-turn. This sign indicates that U-turns are prohibited. A red and white triangular sign at an intersection means A. Slow down if an emergency vehicle is approaching. B. Look both ways as you cross the intersection. C. Always come to a full stop at the intersection. D. Slow down and be prepared to stop if necessary. D. Slow down and be prepared to stop if necessary. A triangular red and white yield sign means that you must decrease speed as you approach an intersection and yield the right of way to any vehicles or pedestrians in the intersection. You must be prepared to stop if conditions require it. This sign means A. Watch for bicycles. B. Bicycles not allowed. C. Bicycle repair shop ahead. D. Bicycles have the right of way. On a freeway, you realize you missed your turn or exit. You should A. Make the turn quickly from your lane of travel. B. Stop and back up. C. Continue driving until you reach the next turn, exit, or other location where you can safely turn around. D. Signal other drivers to stop so you can turn. C. Continue driving until you reach the next turn, exit, or other location where you can safely turn around. If you miss your turn or exit, do not back up, but go on to the next turn or exit where you can safely turn around. It is illegal to back up on a shoulder or a freeway. You must stop at a railroad crossing when A. Directed to do so by a flagger. B. It is controlled by a stop sign. C. Flashing red signals and gates are present and operating. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. You must stop at a railroad crossing when directed to do so by a flagger or stop sign. Stop when flashing red signals and gates are present and operating. Always signal when A. Changing lanes. B. Pulling into or out of a parking space. C. Pulling into traffic from an alley or parking area. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Always use the proper turn signal when changing lanes, pulling into or out of a parking space, or pulling into traffic from an alley or parking area. Communicate with other drivers on the road to help prevent accidents. Taking drugs along with alcohol. A. Increases the risk of causing a crash. B. Is no more dangerous than consuming alcohol by itself. C. lessens the effect of alcohol on your ability to drive. D. Has no effect on your general driving ability. A. Increases the risk of causing a crash. Drugs, including illegal, prescription, and over-the-counter medications, can affect your brain function and impair your ability to drive safely. Combining alcohol with other drugs will increase the risk of a crash. When approaching a steady yellow traffic light, drivers should A. Accelerate to avoid a red light. B. Continue driving, as they have the right of way. C. Slow to a stop, unless they are already within the intersection. D. Check to see what the cars next to them are doing. C. Slow to a stop, unless they are already within the intersection. A steady yellow traffic light indicates that a red light is about to appear. Stop unless you are already within the intersection. When driving in fog, you should use your A. Low beam headlights. B. High beam headlights. C. Parking lights. D. Hazard flashers. You must yield for emergency vehicles? A. Under no circumstances. B. When you see a flashing red or blue light or hear a siren. C. Only when other vehicles yield. D. None of the above. B. When you see a flashing red or blue light or hear a siren. You must yield the right of way to any emergency vehicle that is using its siren or flashing lights. If you need to slow down while driving on a slippery road, the first thing you should do is A. Firmly apply your brakes. B. Take your foot off the gas pedal. C. Apply your parking brake. D. Pump your brakes. B. Take your foot off the gas pedal. To slow down on a slippery road, you should first take your foot off the gas pedal. If you need to slow down even more, gently apply a slow, steady pressure to your brake pedal. An octagonal sign is always a A. Speed limit sign. B. Stop sign. C. Hospital sign. D. Railroad warning sign. B. Stop sign. Octagonal signs are always stop signs. Come to a complete stop when approaching a red, 8-sided sign.